Nevada is a state of stunning contrasts, bustling cities, quiet rural communities, and vast, rugged landscapes. Every corner faces its own unique risks. Wildfires, flash floods, and winter storms are ever-present threats. Disasters that could strike at any moment in any part of the state.
Dramatic video into our newsroom overnight showing the mess along the Las Vegas Strip. This video from late last night, you see several people being rescued from their cars that water really deep there.
For people with disabilities, these emergencies pose unique challenges, requiring careful preparation and adaptability. When disaster strikes and help isn't immediately available, one truth becomes clear. Being prepared and ready to act as your own first responder can make all the difference.
I don't think people realize how fast the fire will move up, down, whatever way, and it moves pretty fast. The owner that owned where I lived, he was 95 years old, and he lived by himself. And I went in and got him out of there, and he still thanks me to this day, but I don't need to be thanked.
Mary Evilsizer, Executive Director, Southern Nevada Center for Independent Living. The Southern Nevada Center for Independent Living has taken the initiative to create a sub-website in our website to help individuals of all disabilities prepare for emergencies. This is a statewide initiative for us. We understand that if a disaster hits one area, it hits us all. We're all in it together.
Hi, I'm Lisa Bonney. I'm the Executive Director of the Northern Nevada Center for Independent Living. I think it's important to have a focus on emergency preparedness and having your things in place and having a plan, because if you're a person with a disability, we all have to have a plan. If you're a person with a disability, you need to have some extra plans. There are additional things that you are going to need to think about. And one of the things that we noticed in lots of states is that if you're looking for emergency preparedness information, if you go onto a website, you have to dig through all of the information to get to something that might be particular to you. We wanted to create something that was just for people with disabilities so that you don't have to go sorting through all of this other information, because let's face it, if it's an emergency, you're probably in a hurry. And so we wanted to create an easy tool to use. So this website is so amazing. It's searchable by disability, it's searchable by geography, it's searchable by what kind of a disaster or an emergency there might be. So it creates a very easy way of pulling information together so a person with a disability can think ahead.
I've been through some flooding. I've been through earthquakes. I definitely been through a very bad snowstorm where everybody was restricted to their homes. And this went on for a couple of days.
Saw a guy wandering around kind of a rubble pile, what used to be a house. So he was actually looking for a ballerina that was his niece's because she didn't make it. And they were doing a service for her. And he actually was the one that was like, how silly to stay for stuff when it's really each other and people that can't be replaced.
We had a large fire that cut off 2 of the 5 exit routes from the mountain communities that were involved. The power burned out. We had 3.5 hours to evacuate 135,000 people. And we did. People listened because we had educated them for 2 years. We had been pounding in, if we tell you to leave, leave. And everyone believed it. Well, one, they had no power and they knew they were in trouble. And they all left. We didn't even have a traffic accident.
Mine was a home fire and caused naturally at my home, but ended up losing the entire thing. I was at work and got a call from my wife that the house is on fire. Stepped out of my location of work and could see the smoke from several miles away. So went as fast as I could to the property to see what was there, what was left, and they were mopping up. Everything was pretty much gone by then. I not only preach it, I've actually lived it and had to go through those organizations for support.
Home fires, that is our number one disaster response. What we'll do is we'll be dispatched by our local first responders to come out sometimes to the scene or to give the affected household a call afterwards that may have been displaced. We provide immediate financial assistance if it's needed to make sure that they could secure a safe spot to stay and that they have adequate food, transportation, whatever those means look like, but to help fill that gap until they figure out what their next step is.
People are the cavalry. Like, you are the cavalry. You are the first responders. And so we want to enable all the citizens to feel that they are capable of doing things without having somebody to come and save the day for them.
When you lose everything and what you have on is what you have at the end of the day, it's pretty impactful, and you get to see the resources that come out to help you. You're the first responder. Whether it be 5 minutes or 5 days, you could be in an isolated area that you're not going to get help anytime soon. So having that understanding and that capability of just some simple supplies and information is imperative.
Preparedness is very important to me. It's a personal and professional passion. So I think that starts with the idea of resilience, right? Things are going to happen to us day to day, no matter what. We can prepare, but we can't prevent. We can mitigate, though, and that's what's really important. So you may have a small power outage, you may have some flooding. It may not have to be weather related. It could simply be you can't get home because there was a traffic accident and it changed your commute. And so I think having a preparedness plan, having the tools that you need, and knowing that you're going to be okay no matter what is really important to give you that self-confidence. And to know that you don't have to be afraid. We always kind of say, if you're prepared, you don't have to be scared, which sounds a little bit silly, but just knowing that really helps build that confidence going into whatever day-to-day functions you have to have.
The government is not meant to make you whole. It never has been, and it will not be able to in a disaster. We can do the best we can, but we cannot make you whole. And that's why we need everybody to find what is within themselves to feel safe and to care for themselves and the people around them.
Everybody can benefit by planning for an emergency. Whether or not you need it, you need to be prepared.
Pre-planning is essential, because when you pre-plan, you have time to think about what those important things are that you need to take with you.
I have muscular dystrophy, so now I am no longer able to walk. My first thought, anywhere, can I get in and out? And then am I able to open the doors? Because even if there's a ramp and the door it might be too heavy, can I open it to push it with the chair?
We are not safe as we think we are, even innocently just going to the mall to shop. And so it's good to have a conversation that, Sophia, if we get separated, here's where you need to do. Here's what you need to do. Here's where you need to go. And of course, making sure that the family is involved in the preparation and understand that it's not just the mother or father's responsibility to do this, and then depend on the mother, because in fact, the mother and father may be the first to be incapacitated. And then how do you react to that? And that may be the moment that will best test your resolve and you're tapped on the shoulder as a young one to step up. And how do you step up? And I think we can enable them to step up with appropriate discussion and training, if you want to use the term, but make sure you put it into practice, and so it becomes second nature for them.
We are the most vulnerable. We make the news first because we're not ready. It is critical that we be ready, each and every one of us. So as Centers for Independent Living, the Southern Nevada Center for Independent Living, and the Northern Nevada Center for Independent Living, we want our state, we want our disability community to be as prepared as possible.
It's important to do practice drills with people with disabilities because they don't always understand what's happening. And, you need to follow through with how a drill should work, where you meet outside of your house, so that they understand, even though it is a drill, this may happen one day. as close as possible to make a drill as real as you can will help somebody with a disability understand we do need to do these things to stay safe.
Always have a evacuation plan and go through it. Don't just have one and say, oh, hey, we have one. Awesome. Go through it. Otherwise, you're not going to be prepared.
You also need to prepare family members that are elderly or disabled in the house, children, on where to go if you are separated, because that happens way too often, where you're separated. And if people know a point or a spot, they will go right there.
We actually make it a game once a week. We have an emergency preparedness something, whether it's just a discussion. We've talked about active assailant for my kids in school. We've talked about fires. We've turned off all the lights and put bandanas on my kids' head and turned on the smoke detector so they have to feel their way out of the house, because smoke in the night can make it very difficult to see. So every week, at least monthly, hopefully weekly, we're doing something to teach them how to be prepared in whatever situation it may be.
I lost my eyesight 10 years ago, so I was sighted for most of my life. I think that you have to plan, you have to have an idea of what you're going to do, because some things are much more difficult to do when you're hurrying. You don't want to forget anything important. And then some things like transportation for me are going to be difficult. Is I can't jump in my car or drive away from the fire that's coming down the neighborhood. So I have to pay attention to things, be prepared, in advance. I can't run to the supermarket and get water or something like that if there's a water failure or a power failure. So I just think you have to think about it way ahead of time, and you also have to have those things on hand.
I got a list of stuff here.
You got a list of stuff?
Yeah.
What do you think's important? What's that list?
Well, I got water, food in the freezer, Generac standby generator, okay, fireplace insert, I can burn wood in there, food in the refrigerator, energy bars, drinks, spare toilet paper, spare paper towels, 911 Guardian alert, right here.
All right.
Guardian alert, okay. Spare Kleenex boxes, soup, honey, fire extinguisher, LED lights, blankets, radio, cell phones, distilled water, all necessary meds, all necessary phone numbers, first aid kit.
You got a full list. You come prepared.
In my go bag, I have a solar-powered battery pack so that it can be charged by the sun, and we're able to recharge any of our devices, including my daughter's insulin pump.
The important papers for my husband and I.
Our old iPod.
Our flashlight.
A backup charger.
My phone is
a solar charger, charger and phone.
My favorite book.
Medicine, birth certificates, water purifier, straws.
Your favorite blanket.
My clothes.
Well, warm clothes, of course.
My sentimental jewelry.
Clothing.
A filtered water bottle. Medicine.
A Braille contact list.
My medication.
Dog food for Benji.
My horse trailer.
Probably my kids' pictures.
Snacks.
Speaking of that, I'm hungry.
And water. And when you're thinking about your go bag, you've really got to be thinking about, what am I going to need, me specifically, if I don't ever get to come back here again. And make sure you have those things in that go bag, whether it's your medicine, or if you're a woman, maybe it's your tampons or your pads, or if you're a vapor and that's how you self-soothe. Yeah, I mean, we want to have the things that we're going to need if we don't ever get to come back here, right?
We do have a box that I do keep a safe. It's not very heavy, but it has all of our important papers like birth certificates, important insurance paperwork, anything that we need. And then, of course, in the car is loaded with, I keep snacks and water and things like that because of the travel and stuff. And you'll need it when you leave.
You need to have a list of contacts. You need to have a list of medications that you may be taking, or your family members or your pets. And so you're probably going to be on your own in some cases for about 72 hours. So you need 3 days worth of some vital supplies that you may need as a person.
They call me the tactical Barbie. So I'm very situational or seasonal. So depending on what I'm planning for that day, or like even just planning to coming to this trip, like certain things need to be packed. If I'm going to certain parts of this country, certain other things will be packed. If I'm navigating just like work, I have a work bag, and so it has everything that you could think of for work. If I was going, to hang out with some friends, it would just have different things that maybe other girls or other people would forget. But I'm just so used to being prepared for the 5 that I don't know how to not be prepared.
It doesn't have to be a fancy backpack. It doesn't have to be a container, a special container. It's things that you normally use. Now, yes, there should be things in there like water and some food bars or whatever, but you should at least have a bag that will sustain you for 72 hours. That length of time. Even if you have to shelter in place, even if you get the call that we don't want you to evacuate, but we want you to shelter in place, just like COVID. We want you to stay in, so you should have a box of supplies that you can use for 72 hours, because it will take at least that long for law enforcement or fire or whatever to get to everybody in a community.
If we're living with a disability and we have to evacuate, we've got to make sure we have a plan to evacuate with our accessible equipment, with the equipment that we need, with our wheelchair, with our devices. And we really have to advocate that for first responders. A lot of the training we do with our first responders on the emergency management side of the street is when it's time to evacuate communities and we're going door to door and we're sending out the National Guard and we're sending out the deputies, and it's time to start, whole neighborhoods have got to go and they got to go now. We really want to make sure we're prioritizing evacuating people with their assistive equipment.
The most important things to me cannot be found in a bag. And so that's going to be my family and my people. And so the most important thing for me with that is having that communication plan, knowing where we're going to meet, how we're going to communicate, and what we're going to do in order to get to that point. Because the reality is I can go 3 days without water or 3 weeks without food, but I don't want to go any longer than I have to without my family.
It's very important to have a plan in place and know who your people are, know who your emergency contacts are, so they're aware too of potential places you may go in case of an emergency, different friends that you may associate with or leave in case of an emergency, and then also to have that point of contact to reach out to give those updates with, so then the rest of your family or anybody that you are close with knows who that point of person or contact may be for you.
We have seen in disaster after disaster, the number one indicator, if you're a person with a disability, if you're going to survive a disaster or not, is your network. It's not anything else. It's, do you have a network, and did that network activate and include you?
If my husband and I are together, I think the first person I would call would probably be one of our kids.
My husband, my older daughter,
my dad,
my sister,
my son,
my husband,
Mom,
Closest son.
de todo.
My wife.
My son.
One of my really close friends.
my
husband.
I think my mom.
I would call my service coordinator.
My husband.
Disasters have no humility. They don't care what situation you're in, whether it's natural, man-made, or technological. The impacts you're going to have aren't going to stop until you say or do something to help yourself or ask for help.
Be aware, get to know your neighbors. That's really important. Know who is elderly, if they have any special needs. Even if they don't, get to know them, because it really does take a village to make an evacuation go smoothly.
You can't do everything. No one walks around with a cape. So you have to be humble. You have to expect at some point, you have to ask for help. And we've all done it, no matter what it is, financially, or they need clothing or food, or just some emotional support to help get through a situation.
There is a sense of pride that, I can't ask people for help. I can give help. I love to be the one to give. But to ask, it's so difficult. But you have to just put that aside and say,
I need it. And there's nothing wrong with needing help if you can just get over that hump. People want to help. They really do. But it's us that don't want to ask because we feel like we're failing. Or I don't really know how to explain it, but it's hard to ask for help.
The strongest communities are connected communities. And so being able to have that connection with people is so valuable. But it's also really important that you have enough people in your life that know how you respond, how you communicate, if and what your medications are, things like that. Because if it's just one person, if that one person isn't there when something happens, it can cause a significant decline in your ability to recover.
We had a pretty large wildfire spread pretty rapidly in the North Reno area. And, a mom, she has 2 older boys at home, both of them with autism, both of them very, self-determined, living independently at home. They do great. But none of their, they had one person that was their buddy when mom was at work in case an emergency happened, and they couldn't, that buddy just couldn't get there. And so we really want to make sure, that we're relying on a network of people, not just one person.
I've found that when I disclose a disability or talk to people about it, other people are usually uncomfortable to bring it up. So if you don't do it, they're not going to bring it up. And I've also found that people, they don't judge you as much when you talk to them about it and you tell them exactly what you might need and things like that. And you can also tell them what you don't need help with. And that really sort of helps the relationship a lot.
Because you're asking for help, it depends on who you're asking, correct? If you feel comfortable with that person and you have honesty, integrity, and trust with that person, you're going to feel more comfortable asking for help. I think it's breaking barriers.
We had what we called our survival group in our family. And we asked each person in the family to join our group. And each person in the group was responsible for certain things.
People with disabilities are usually great resources because they already have what they need on hand and they know where to get those supplies ahead of time. They're probably familiar with the use of a generator if they rely on durable medical equipment such as oxygen or a respirator. So they already know where to go in times of emergency. They know who to call. They know what supplies to be used. So they're a great resource for regular community members to just hop in and discuss those opportunities with, just to see if they need help finding other resources for yourself or maybe for a family member and you're not as familiar with that, please go to them. I think the disability community is going to be your best resource in an emergency. Because we have so many different types of disabilities and complex needs, you're more likely to find what you need in the disability community than anywhere else, because we're often preparing for the what if. What if I can't get to the doctor? What if I can't reach my friend on the phone? We're preparing for what if all the time. And every single person in this world is 1 second away from being a part of that community. So learning it now and getting to know your neighbors and friends might help you in the long run. Honestly, people in the disability community are really about making sure that everybody has what they need.
Being blind, my son will say, "Where's the hammer?" I'm like, "It's in the drawer next to the refrigerator, second shelf from the top." And he's like, "How do you know?" I'm like, "Because I put it there and I have to remember where it is." So if we needed to find the first aid kit, we know exactly where it is, in what bag, under what sink, where it is in a car. Because for me to be able to find it realistically, I have to know where everything is all the time.
Disasters can happen at any given moment. So we have to be, ready. And I know sometimes it's scary, but we gotta get up and get ready and go and I'm gonna be here every step of the way because, that kind of stuff can be kind of frightening for a lot of people that may not have experienced it, but also for people that may experienced it as well. So I want to be that support so that they get out safely as well.
Anybody on my street that is elderly, they know I'm coming to their aid once my family and everything's taken care of, I will be there for them.
They also give care. We saw in Winter Storm Uri in Texas, right? Which was terrible. It was over 700, right? We lost in a winter storm. And a lot of those were people with disabilities and access and functional needs. But a lot of people with disabilities and access and functional needs who needed power because of their accessible equipment, their durable medical equipment, right? To function, they did have backup generators and they did have backup batteries, and their neighbors and their people in their apartments who were older adults, they all came and huddled with them because they're the only ones, in the neighborhood that did have backup power. And so people with disabilities, they are out there also being part of that supportive care network, right? It's very, I support you, you support me.
Reach out. I think that's the most important thing, because people panic and stress and do what they're going to do. But the more you know, the more you think that I might need help at some point, and I know they need help. Check on them, help them out, because we're all going to need it at some point.
Ask for help. Always ask for help, because you might hurt yourself or someone else.
It's very important for people with disabilities to tell somebody how to help them and how not help them.
Try to do the things that you need to do to help yourself.
Going through the exercises of evacuation planning, of getting your go bag ready to go, of leaving your house, of going to your family meeting place, whatever it may be that you're exercising, builds muscle memory, shows that you're capable of it, and then it allows you to make your plan better.
Be prepared with your family.
Don't put it off, because it'll give you great peace of mind if you know that you have things ready to go.
That's the other thing, is to have good smoke alarms.
Always be ready for a disaster, because it could happen anytime.
Life can change at any moment. And be prepared.
Almost all my neighbors are old people. And I noticed, passing the pandemic, some of my neighbors, they miss a partner. So they are alone. So I really wish everybody watch each other in our neighborhood.
Use common sense. You're going to protect you. If your family's there, you're going to protect them. Don't worry about material things.
So I always encourage people that if you're prepared, you don't have to be scared. And once you're prepared, you don't really have to think about it. It's not like I'm asking you to stop your daily life and worry unnecessarily. We're just thinking that some things might go wrong, maybe, but we're going to try to make them go as right as possible.
So we need you to be prepared, be ready, and leave.
If they say evacuate, they're not doing it just to have fun. Evacuate. If it's to the point where they're saying evacuate, it is a very dangerous area for you to be in. And not only are you risking your own life, you're risking the lives of the rescuers that have to come rescue you afterwards.
Well, if we tell you to get out, it's not a phony thing. We're telling you to get out, because if you wait till the end, you better have told us who your dentist is, because that's what we're going to identify you with.
It's important to be your own first responder.
I fall early. She says go. I said okay.
Have a full tank of gas.
Be friendly. As an old man, don't be grouchy.
Enjoy life. That's number one.
Giving the gift of independence and the training and just the whole philosophy is so exciting because we've got a whole generation of young people who aren't going to have some of the memories that maybe you and I have of people with disabilities being segregated. They, when you were in school, they went down a different hall and you didn't see them all day. And the expectation was that they went somewhere, but we didn't know where. And I think what we want now is we want to have an integrated community.
We have services
from birth until death, and we have compassion and we have the will to help individuals to live the best quality of life they possibly can. Yes, you have a disability. Don't forget your disability. Bring it with you, but strengthen your abilities.
Live every day that you got. That's it. I don't like doing emotional stuff.
Preparedness is a shared responsibility. By working together, Nevadans can face any challenge, ready, resilient, and prepared to survive. What's in your bag? Who are your people? And what is your plan? These questions can save your life.